Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin says the National Security Council has decided to impose stricter COVID-19 linked restrictions amid concerns of a total lockdown nationwide. In a statement, Muhyiddin said the council had agreed today that more economic and social restrictions were necessary. However, further details will only be announced during Senior Defence Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's briefing tomorrow. Yesterday, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Taqiyuddin Hassan said the council will be meeting with all Menteri Besar and Chief Ministers to discuss whether to impose a full-scale MCO. As of today, Malaysia has reported a total of 498,795 COVID-19 infections after detecting 6,493 new cases. 50 new deaths were reported, bringing the death toll to 2,149. Active cases, which carry high transmission risks, jumped to 52,106, the highest daily figure recorded since the pandemic started. 643 patients are in ICUs, with 363 needing respiratory assistance. Selangor led again in terms of numbers, with 2,163 new cases, bringing the state's tally to 163,747. 80 new clusters were detected across Malaysia, taking the number of active clusters to 529. The prosecution in Tan Sri Muhammad Shafee Abdullah's money laundering trial told the Kuala Lumpur High Court today that the lawyer has given inconsistent versions of the reason for the 9.5 million ringgit payment he received from ex-Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak. Deputy Public Prosecutor Afzainizam Abdul Aziz said Shafee told the MACC in 2017 that the money was for his legal fee. But in 2018, he told the MACC that the money was a loan, pending rationalisation of the legal fee payable to him. That same year, Shafee claimed in a press statement that the sum was for the legal fee due to him, pending the rationalisation of legal paperwork as agreed by Najib. Afzainizam also pointed out that the money was deposited into Shafee's bank account and not his law firm Shafee & Co.'s. Shafee is facing 2 money laundering charges involving 9.5 million ringgit, which the prosecution alleged was received from Najib. He is also facing 2 charges of making false statements to the Inland Revenue Board with the intention of concealing the said proceeds from the taxman. Malaysia's inflation, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, rose 4.7% year-on-year in April, its quickest pace since 2018. Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Muhyiddin said in a statement, this was driven by the increase in fuel prices, pushing up the transport index by 27% due to the low base effect from the preceding year. This trend is expected to continue until the first quarter of 2022. Last month, the average price of unleaded petrol RON95 rose by 61.4% to RM2.05 per litre versus RM1.27 previously. Unleaded petrol RON97 was up 62.4% to RM2.55 per litre against RM1.57, and the price of diesel climbed 44.3% to RM2.15 per litre from RM1.49 the previous year. Meanwhile, housing, water, electricity, gas, food and non-alcoholic beverages were also more expensive. On a month-on-month basis, the CPI increased by 0.2%. Breaking it down by state, the Statistics Department said 7 states, namely Terengganu, Kelantan, Pahang, Kedah, Perlis Negeri Sembilan and Johor, surpassed the national CPI rate, with the gauge jumping by between 4.9% and 6.3% year-on-year in April. Meanwhile, the highest increase in the prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages was recorded in Pahang, Terengganu, Selangor, Putrajaya, Kelantan and Johor. IOI Corp says Third quarter FY21 net profit surged to 401.3 million ringgit from 100,000 ringgit in the corresponding quarter last year. In a bourse filing, IOI said its oil palm plantation segment's profit came in 12% higher year-on-year due to higher crude palm oil and palm kernel prices. Meanwhile, its resource-based manufacturing segment's earnings more than tripled, mainly from a higher share of results from its specialty fats associate from Bangalores Croclan Group. This included a share of a one-off gain of 267.9 million ringgit from the sale of its refinery in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, on top of better performance across all regions. Quarterly top line came in 41% higher at 2.86 billion ringgit against 2.03 billion ringgit in the previous corresponding quarter. It did not declare any dividends this quarter. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, IOI's net profit was up by 12.8%, while revenue was 16.5% higher. Going forward, IOI expects its overall financial performance for the coming quarter to remain good, supported by high CPO prices and an increase in crop production, as well as the expected demand improvements in the resource-based manufacturing segment amid the gradual recovery of the global economy. Pharmaniaga says it booked a 3.3% increase in first quarter FY21 earnings on the back of lower finance cost. Net profit stood at 23.1 million ringgit from 22.4 million ringgit previously. Earnings per share increased to 8.84 sen from 8.57 sen. Revenue, however, shrank 3.2% to 793.5 million ringgit due to lower demand from its Indonesian business. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, the group returned to the black from a net loss of 6.33 million ringgit, while revenue surged 25% from 634.58 million ringgit, underpinned by stronger demand from the government and private hospitals in the country. It declared an interim dividend of 4 sen per share. Pharmaniaga Group MD Datuk Zulkarnain Muhammad Yusof said in a statement that the supply and distribution of COVID-19 vaccine remains the group's priority. He said the group is making good progress with approval granted for the fill and finish manufacturing of the Sinovac vaccine, in addition to the 400,000 doses of the finished product that it brought in and distributed to the government's healthcare facilities. The pharma player is now aiming to establish the world's first halal vaccine facility, which is targeted for completion by 2022, creating a new stream of income by 2024. Meanwhile, Chairman Datuk Seri Muhammad Shazali Ramli remains upbeat that the group can record better revenue and profit in the upcoming quarter. He says Pharmaniaga is confident of its long-term prospects.